I was born in Miami, born and raised in Jackson Memorial. The hospital is not even there anymore. They tore it down.
And, okay, you were born in Jackson Memorial, but a certain part of Miami you represented.
Well, that hospital was in the city.
Oh.
I started my years off in North Miami Beach. My mom, she went there, she graduated there. That was where our family, started off. And then we migrated towards Miami Lakes. And then that's where I went to schools and stuff, Miami Lakes.
Still reside in Miami today?
Nope, I reside in Las Vegas.
And what age were you when you made that decision in your life?
I was about 25, probably about 25 when I went over there a couple years ago. And I just, I wanted to change. I had a lot of drama and stuff that I was getting past, and I wanted to try something new, and then started the Jazzy Rolling Papers over there, and then, all of my cannabis adventures.
You had friends, you had family already in Vegas?
Yeah, I had some friends over there because I had been there some years before, and I knew some people. I knew about real estate because I did real estate in Florida. And so I would study the market in different places. And it would just seem like a place that was really lucrative, a great place to, start over, and kind of an easy start because the cost of living, everything was so new and low. So I went over there, not too many friends, but I kind of wanted it like that because I just wanted everything fresh. I didn't want to be around the same thing that I was used to.
Now, thinking back, hindsight 2020, did you make that move at the right age? Do you wish you would have moved earlier than 25, a little later after 25? How things worked out, was that a good decision there?
That's a good question. I probably, if I knew what I know now, I probably would have made the move sooner and just made sacrifices for, my own dreams and endeavors. So I probably would have done it sooner, knowing what I know. I probably could have got things popped off and stuff sooner, but I think everything has been done in the right time when I was ready.
How often do you go back to Miami these days?
Every couple months I'm in Miami because, my family's still down there. My family's still down there. And really, to be honest, I want to move back soon. I want to move back to Miami. I miss my family. I miss the food. I miss the food a lot. But most importantly, my family. Like, it's just hard not being around, people that you're really close to. You want to just go, hang out with your mom, hang out with your grandma or your best friend, watch TV, eat lunch, and relax. It's hard when you're in a place that I've made contacts and connections and friends, but it's different when you're in a place that everybody you have met is for work and business, and you don't have that real connection that you can just go and be yourself and relax.
Growing up in Miami, paint that picture for us.
Miami is a rough city. Like, people, they think it's like South Beach, that's Miami, but if you really know Florida and stuff, that's not the case. Miami's a real rough city. I got kicked out of schools. I went to Jan Man Opportunity School in 7th grade. I was in and out of troubles. I got into a lot of fights. I was an athlete. I was a gifted student. I was in the yearbook Most Valuable Athlete of the Year. What else? I had really good grades. The assistant principals, they never wanted to throw me out because I was so good in school. I had the highest FCAT scores. I was a good student. I was a great athlete. But then, I hit a curb, probably like a lot of different, other teens who was going through things in their personal life. And then when I took that curve, I was real angry. I got into a lot of fights. I started getting into a lot of trouble. And, but that's kind of what made me, and I think that's what matured me so much at a young age, because I was exposed to all those different things really young, and I was able to learn my lesson young. So, yeah.
What stemmed the curve? What led to the trouble? Are you able to pinpoint it, looking back at your life?
Well, Yeah, everything like as a child depends on, your parents and your environment and stuff. So I had a kind of a rocky childhood, with how I was raised. And like I said, Miami is home to a lot of people that go through that. So I was one of many, just not having a stable home, going to live with different family members from young. My mom was going through some things too. My mom was going through some things. I didn't meet my father till I was 9. And then, my mom had me when she was 17 years old. She was still a kid herself. And, she was a single parent. She got married to a man when I was like maybe 2. And he was a drummer in a band. And then when they separated, it was a super crazy separation. I lived with different family members when that happened. And then when he was gone, that was it. He was gone. I thought he was my dad. When I found out he wasn't my real dad, I wanted to meet my real dad. And then when I actually met him, then things just got more crazy, like I just turned 11, and then, parents still weren't like stable. So I started just, doing things on my own, started going around in the streets and hanging out with friends and learning all kinds of different things and stuff. So I would say, that had a lot to do with my actions and me, having them little issues at a young age.
Where are you at today with your biological father and your mom at this point? What kind of terms these days?
Me and my mom are like best friends. We are best friends. I'm super close to my family. I actually don't talk to my dad so much, but there was a point that I even, I let my dad live with me. We lived together for a few years, and I really took the time to get to know him as an adult. And when I took him in, and he was living with me, a lot of people that were close just were like, that's weird. You never had a relationship with this person. But I think it was something I needed to do for me. And I really wanted to know, I wanted to know him. Like, I wanted to have that relationship and understand, what was going on, where I came from and stuff, and like understand him. And that really helped me grow, shut doors in my life and stuff. And, I have a cool relationship with him now. I just don't really talk to him. I don't know, I think he's in Orlando.
Something happened there.
We just lost communication. I don't think he got a phone. I don't think he got a phone.
Why did you guys stop living with each other? Because you took him in at one point.
It was probably my attitude, to be honest. I think because I remember there were periods of time that he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go, and I would notice it was like after some periods of time of me having like a strong attitude, but I have a strong attitude a lot, and when you live with somebody like that and you see them every day, it's probably tiring. So I think that was what it was. He like needed some fresh air or something. And for years I've been just on the go, boom, 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 go, go, go. So it wasn't like we were like, oh, I'm not gonna talk to you or nothing like that. It was just more like, excuse me, getting some space, and then the space never closed. No, I guess he lost his phone or something.
What age was that when you actually start living with him?
Like 22, something like that.
Before you go to Vegas?
It might have even been 18, 23. Yeah, about that time. Yeah, before I fully went to Vegas. I had property in Florida that I purchased at a real young age. And he would come over there. And two, it helped me a lot because I was by myself. I had my dog Snoopy. I had a home, and I was in and out of town, always like trying to work and, get stuff done. So it would actually help me a lot to have somebody around. So he came around that time, and then he also came when I went to Vegas. And when I went to Vegas, I was going through all this drama with my ex. and he lived with me and my ex at a point in time too. And when I decided that I wanted to pack my stuff and go completely, you know, he helped me. We packed up the little bit of stuff I had, and we drove. We drove to Vegas. He drove the U-Haul with all my stuff, you know, my furniture, and I drove a rental car with Snoopy, and we just hit it. Like 2.5 days we got there. We stopped one time to sleep and slept like 8 hours, but it was 2.5 days just straight out. That time I had 5-hour energy, and I don't take that stuff. I don't take 5-hour energy coffee. We hit it, yeah.
Now, your parents split at one point of your life, but, and I know circumstances could be different for people watching this, but let's say somebody is experiencing that, right? The split of their parents. Is there anything you would say to somebody going through those motions watching this interview?
You know what? That's something, like, if your parents ever split up, that's something that should not define you. But I cannot say that because I didn't grow up with both of my parents. So for me, it never affected me not having a father. Like, I never was a child or a teenager who was like, oh, I never knew my dad. Like, it just never bothered me like that. It was never something, I never cared about Father's Day. Like, I was like, oh, it's Father's Day. Like, I didn't know. It didn't bother me. But I know a child that, you know, grows up with two parents from the day they were born, and then, you know, now you're 10 years old and they're divorcing. That's a major thing. So I never experienced that exactly, but, you know, if you are going through something like that, don't let that define you, because people are always going to have some kind of problems, you know, and there's all kinds of problems in your family and stuff, but, you know, that's just one of those hurdles that you have to overcome in your life, and that's something that will mature you, and it's just something, you know, it's part of experience. You go through it, you live, you learn, you see, you watch, and you can use that for an example of how you don't want to be with your kids. If that hurt you so much, you say, you know what, I will bring kids into this world, and I would never let them experience that pain that I felt. You gotta transfer that energy and use it for something better. So for example, what I went through as a child, I told that to myself. I said, you know what, when I have kids, my baby will never feel like she doesn't have anybody. My baby, she will always have me to rely on, depend on. You know, I would never, you know, she would just always be able to depend on me and trust me. My word is my word. If I say that I'm not going to do something, she'll never experience me going against my word. She'll never experience me having to tell her, I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking, that'll never happen again. Because when you go through that hurt, something that hurts that bad, you don't want for another person, especially your own child. So you got to take that energy for what you're hurting about and make sure you don't pass it on to the next generation, because a lot of families, they do that. You know, they got chains and cycles, and somebody's got to break that cycle.
You haven't had a child yet.
No?
Just curious, since your mom did give birth to you when she was 17, was that something that you were conscious of? Like, you didn't want to be a teenage parent yourself? Was that something that resonated with you, or no?
I don't think that until I got older is when I realized that she was so young. I knew that she was young because people would say it. Oh, you know, sometimes I would see teachers or something whisper, you know, about her. She's like, you know, the young, crazy mom or something. But I didn't notice it like, oh, my mom's young. I didn't really notice like that until I was older. And then I was like, oh, okay, you were a baby. Like, you were young. Like, you had a lot of maturing to do. Because me at 17, I was a terrible girlfriend. Like, I thought I knew it all. I'm just like doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I didn't. So, yeah, I guess now I see it, but as a child, I didn't.
I know you had a rocky childhood. What do you think was the rockiest moment for you, thinking back, that you experienced?
I don't know, man. It was a lot of different things. Some things, you know, I prefer not to discuss, but I would say my hardest years were my early teenage years. And, you know, I was going through so much, and it just internally too. And then I'm the firstborn, and my baby sisters, they didn't come until I was 10 years old, and they came one right after another. I'm their second mom. I'm their father. We have the same dad, by the way, and you know, I was always there with them, teaching them how to walk, playing with them, being in the pool with them. But those years were probably my rockiest, and you know, you could see it like on my track record, going in and out of jail. Like I literally went to juvie probably 10 times. You know, as an adult, I just kept finding like little things somehow. I just end up with something. But those times were really, really hard for me. And internally, I was going through a lot. I didn't have a sibling my age or anything that, you know, I just felt like I didn't have anybody to, you know, talk with or like, you know, vent with about those things. And I would deal with it on my own, and it would come out in the wrong way, you know, in a negative way. So maybe from like 12 to about 16 was like my roughest years. But even after that, I went through a really hard time. You know, with my last relationship was about 4 years ago. That was a really rough time too. It's like you go through stages in life, and there will be a period of time that was really, really hard. And then, you know, some things will happen, and then you go through another small period. It's like stages in life.
Financially, how did you grow up?
Oh, financially broke. I always went to the WIC office. I remember going there with my mom, just doing little stuff like that. I lived in a room at one time with my mom, my dad, my two baby sisters, our dog, and I slept on a futon on the top of the bed, and then my parents slept on the bottom, and then the two cribs were in the room also. So. And sometimes kids at school would think that I had money because I knew how to like dress up stuff, and I got a lot of hand-me-downs that, you know, Goodwill, and I just knew how to put things together, and people would think that I had money, but it wasn't that. I just always knew how to make something shake. And like there were times when my mom didn't have a car, but she had a job, and she would take her bicycle. She would take her bicycle, you know, go to work for I don't know how many miles away it was. So it just taught me like how to save money, how to budget, and like how to go get it. You know, if you need something done, like the best person to do it is yourself. My grandma came to the United States from Guatemala when she was 19. And she got a GED, she went to college, she became a respiratory therapist. She worked 2 full-time jobs in Miami. She was the supervisor of respiratory care in Mercy Hospital. She worked at Kendall Regional at the same time. Day shift and night shift, you will barely see her, you know, and all she did was just work for the family. And that taught me like a lot of resilience, a lot of discipline. I always wanted to be like her. So I was like, wow, like, and she's such a great person, you know. She can run 7 miles still, and she's like 68 years old. She can run 7 miles nonstop. I mean, she's incredibly inspiring. But again, you know, like growing up not having stuff, I mean, it just taught me like how I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be like.
Grandmother on your mother's side.
Yep.
Now, in American society, people are placed into categories like poor, lower middle class, upper middle class, rich. Was your family ever able to move up higher in class from being broke as you were growing up, or no?
My grandma, yes. Like my grandma, you know, she's the backbone of my family. She brought the rest of the family from Guatemala. Like, you know, she left my mom when my mom was about 5 years old, and my auntie. She left them in Guatemala so she can come over here and do her things. But, you know, when she went to school and pulled out her stuff, she brought them over there. You know, her sisters, my great aunts and all of them, you know, everybody came over here, and she like holds everybody together. And she, you know, she did the right things with herself. Like she would save her money, she would put it in, you know, purchase her house. I mean, her house now, when I talk to her about equity and like the value of it now, like made 4 or 5 times the amount than what she purchased it for. Did all these upgrades. So I would say she definitely, moved herself up to like a middle class. And, my mom works. It's not like my mom doesn't have a job. My mom still works, but, she's a single mom of 2 young girls that are 17 and 18 years old. So that's pretty hard, for you to move up when you're still taking care of 2 other human beings by yourself.
Growing up in that financial environment, did you seek making money early in life?
Yeah. I would do dumb stuff. I mean, it started off with stealing. I would start stealing super, super early. I mean, because I wanted things, things that like I would see everybody else had, and I would want it. So I would start off stealing. And as I got older, then I dabbled into stealing and selling. And then there were points, like I would just deal with like little things that I knew people would want. So I would buy it and sell it again. I got my first job at like 15. And at 15, I was kicked out of the house already. So I started, trying to make ends meet on my own. I went to my grandma's house, and there was even a point when I just left, everybody alone. I tried to like make it by myself, and I ended up getting a job at So Be Live in South Beach, underage, and I was like doing VIP ticket promotions and stuff, going around, telling people, promoting the club, and then I would give them the VIP passes. So I was like my earliest. And then I did telemarketing at like 15 years old. I just always had some kind of job, and I was always like seeking, trying to do something.
What other jobs have you had over the years aside from those 2 there?
I started off with those, telemarketing. I even worked in retail. I did like a bottle girl. I did I became licensed in real estate in Florida. That was pretty cool because it was like a challenge to myself. I just wanted to have some kind of license and say that, I actually have something sturdy. So I took that course, and everybody made a big deal. Like, no, the test is really hard. A lot of people, they have to take it twice or 3 times or something. And I passed it on the first try, and I thought I was like the shit. I was like, yo, I passed it on the first time. I mean, I've had so many jobs, but I actually got fired from a lot. Like my first jobs, it was hard for me to be on time. I was never on time. And then, I was doing drugs so early. I remember my first, the telemarketing job, I came and I had popped like some, back then we used to call them beans, not mollies. I had popped some beans in the middle of the day. I don't know why I did it, but took like a yellow sunflower or something, and I went to work and I got sick. And then I got up from my chair, and on the way to the bathroom, I threw up all over the hallway. And I was so embarrassed by the time I got to the bathroom. I was like, I'm out of here. And I left, and I didn't tell anybody anything. So the manager called me. He was like, did you just throw up? And I'm like, yeah, I got sick. He's like, you didn't want to tell anybody? You just leave it there, for nobody to pick it up? I was like, I'm sorry. I was just like really embarrassed. I did like a lot of silly stuff like that. Or another time he told me, he's like, listen, you've had a lot of people die around you. Because I would be like, oh, something happened. You've had a lot of people die. But, and I like you and everything. You're good, but you can't be late anymore. So the next time you're late, I'm going to have to let you go, even though I don't want to. So the next day, I'm on the way to work. I'm on time. I'm doing what I got to do. And I ran out of gas. And I'm like, no. I ran out of gas on the road. The car's rolling. And I had a Monte Carlo. That was my first car, was a Monte Carlo, a hood little car. And I'm like trying to like see how far it would go if I roll as close as I can to a gas station. I had to call him. I'm like, Man, I just ran out of gas. I don't think I'm gonna make it on time. I didn't make it on time, and he sure did fire me.
All right, I have so many more questions now that I want to ask based on what you just said. But with the Sobe Live, that was that club doesn't exist anymore. But that was like an urban club,
Yeah.
like hip hop and R&B.
Uh-huh.
You were underage. Did they know you were underage? Did people figure this out? Just didn't say anything? Did people question it, I guess?
One of the bouncers was somebody who was taking me like under his wing out of Carroll City, and he wanted to see me do better, and he was trying to help me. He came from a troubled past, and he tried to help me. So he brought me in, and if I remember right, I think that we lied about my age. I'm not really too sure, but I think that was the case, and I'm pretty sure people was like, this girl looks really young. But nobody really said anything. They respected him a lot. He was a really good person. But yeah, I think about that too. I'm like, nobody was like, this girl's really small. Like, she looks really young. But no.
Were any of those jobs that you did tough? You mentioned a plethora of jobs. Were any of them actually tough, though?
The real estate was tough because it just takes a certain kind of person to do that. You got to be really dedicated. You got to work under a company for a while. And I kind of just always been like a boss. Like, I want to move on my own time and how I want to move, and put these plays together how I think it's going to work the best. So real estate was actually hard for me because I remember I was testing out the buyer's market, that they, if they wanted to go, find a house or rent a house and stuff. And that takes a lot of patience. And I'm not somebody who really likes to wait on small stuff like that. And, driving around, then all of a sudden they drop you, maybe they go somewhere else. And by this time you've taken them around to like 10 houses. And I was like, it's not for me. So that was like kind of difficult because you have to really, it's got to be something that you really like and be, dedicate yourself to it. It's not something that I saw myself doing.
Aside from the pill throwing up episode and the running out of gas, any other crazy stories dealing with any of these jobs that happen out of the norm?
Yeah, when I was at Sobe Live, I met so many people at a young age that I was like, oh, this is so cool. I met Lil Boozy. I met from 3-6 Mafia was one of my favorite groups, and I met Gangsta Boo inside the club. I met her in the bathroom. And she was like, oh, what's your name? I was like, Jasmin. She was like, oh, my name's Gangsta Boo. And I was like, what? And I became friends with her for a little bit at that time in my life. That was really cool experiences. But I think with the telemarketing jobs, I was crazy. I was going in there mind altered all the time. But I wouldn't, not that I can think of too many crazy experiences like that.
Never dated anybody off the telemarketer gig, did you?
Oh, well, you know what? My first telemarketing when I was 15, my 15-year-old boyfriend at the time, I'm not sure if, I think he told me to go there to apply for the job. I think he was there first, and he was like, oh, we'll come to apply for the job. Because I ended up living with him and his mom. And his mom helped me get my first car. But no, I never dated anybody. I always felt like I didn't belong there in any job I had.
Now, if you could, would you ever consider owning, you were a bottle girl, a nightclub. Would you ever consider owning a telemarketing company? Would you ever consider owning things of that nature, that places that you've actually worked at, those type of entities, or no?
I have heard some people, some hustlers, and they did telemarketing things. I'm like, how's that going? And I've heard that some people banked and made really, a lot of money through it. But for me, Like, I just think, like, if I get into something else, you know, another business, it's got to be something that I like, because any business that you start is going to cost money and time before you start making money. And if I'm going to be losing my time and my money, it is going to be something that I want to do. So I'm not feeling the effects of what I'm losing, because for me, whatever I'm doing, I'm actually gaining knowledge, and you know, I'm gaining more than I feel I'm losing. So a telemarketing or something like that, no, I don't think I would, because it's not something that I'd be like, wow, you know, telemarketing, this is dope.
You were kicked out at age 15, you said. What caused you to get kicked out?
So I did a 6 months bid in like this juvenile program that you know, I lived there, whatever. I graduated, did my time, and then when I got out, I went home to my mom. And, you know, me and my mom, we were beefing back and forth in them years. And I had a diary, and, you know, counselors, social workers, they would always tell you, like, whatever you're dealing with, you know, write it down and, you know, rip it up and throw it away, you know, to vent and stuff. So I had a diary, and I would write. And then my mom, so as soon as I came back, I was sleeping, and my mom read my diary. And she went crazy because I was talking crap about her. I had a boyfriend that I wasn't supposed to have. And I was saying all kinds of things in there. And she woke me up. I mean, she was pissed. And I did not wake up in a nice way. I woke up to a mess, and I had to go. So I was more like, finally.
So then you move into
I
your
went to my
boyfriend's.
grandma. No, I went to my grandma. And then when I was there, a couple months after living with my grandma, I met my high school boyfriend. And then we got attached, and I was living with him and his mom.
Did you ever end up going back to live with your mom after that?
Mm-mm.
How tough was that being on your own at 15, kicked out, thinking back?
It was hard, but you don't realize how hard it is, because you're not mature. And then two, like, you know, coming from a troubled past and stuff, like, I think I really just wanted to get out and, like, find myself. I didn't understand what I was going through at those times, but, you know, looking back, I think I really, you know, I wanted to have something that I can depend on and lean on. And I wanted to, like, I just wanted to be free from, you know, whatever drama I had going on. So, yeah, it was tough, but I think I chose it I chose it for it to be that tough, because I could have stayed at my grandma's house. I could have chose not to make some of the bad decisions that I made, but I chose those bad decisions because I wanted to experience things. I wanted to be free. I wanted to, you know, find love. I just wanted to see a different kind of world. I wanted to have my own house. Like, you know, I wanted to have money. Like, it was a lot of things that I wanted to have that I didn't have. So I chose that path. And, like, for instance, my baby sister, she just had her prom, and she had a Porsche truck. She had a maid dress, nails done, eyelashes done, makeup done, hair done, like everything. She was like, wow, you're beautiful, you know? Mine, I got a dress and I think I paid to get my hair done, and that was it. I didn't have no date or, like, go all out like that. But I went to my prom.
Did you resent your mom for kicking you out, or no?
Mm-mm.
And did she actually kick you out, or you just left? You got the
No,
drift
she
and
kicked
just
me out.
okay. So she did
Yeah.
officially kick you out,
She was, like, fed up. She was sensitive about what she read.
but you didn't resent her for that.
Mm-mm. I guess because, you know, we were already beefing. I kind of was like, I'm over it. Like, I just want to go. But, you know, I was so stubborn.
Does she ask you to come back?
Oh, now?
No. Back
I was about
then,
to say all the time.
No. Back then at 15, 16, 17, does she ask you at all during this? Hey, come back. She apologized for kicking you out. Does she feel bad, guilty, remorseful?
18 years old, I was full grown. Like 18 years old, I met a man who was twice my age. He was 38, 37. He lied. He said he was 32. I lied. I said I was 23, but I was 18, just turned 18. And I got with him, and I moved in with him. And actually, when my family met him, the first night that I went on a date with him, my aunt was in town from Guatemala. You got that rich foreign aunt from somewhere you just only see in the holidays. It was that aunt. She was at my grandma's house. And I was like, well, whatever. I'll go out with this guy. And when I met him, I told him, I was like, I don't have a car. Because I did. I forgot about that. I gave my mom my car. I had like some little putt kind of car, and I gave her the car because she was up north with my baby sisters, and her car broke down, and she didn't have like means of transportation for them. So I let her have the car, and at the time I knew I was gonna get a new one soon. So at the time I didn't have a car, and when I met the guy, we were like at a nightclub or something. I was like, oh well, I don't have a car right now because I just gave it to my mom, but I'm about to go get a new one. And he was like, oh, I got an extra Range Rover. I'll give it to you tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So the next day, I didn't think about him or like, oh, somebody told me they would lend the car or anything. He called me and he was like, hey, where you at? Come, I'm going to take you to go get the car. I'm like, okay. And he really picked me up, took me. We picked up the Range Rover. And then that night, he was like, you want to go out? We'll go to a club, whatever. He got me an over 21 ID. And I asked if my aunt could come, because for me, I was like, well, I'll make this more for her. Like, I didn't really care about it. I was like, yeah, she can come. She'll have a good time. She likes this type of stuff. And so she met him when we went back home. She told my grandma all about it. They had a talk with me. They were like, listen, Jasmine, this is a really nice guy. Like, you need to take him seriously. I'm like, oh, whatever. And I actually was engaged to him. I was with him for 3.5 years. And I became like a full-blown housewife at like the age of 18. I didn't know how to cook or clean, and I had to learn.
So wait, so he lends you this car before the first, after the first date?
Before.
So, wow.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked too. Like I said, I wasn't expecting, like we exchanged numbers, and I wasn't thinking about him when I woke up, wasn't expecting him to call, and he called me, and he was a person of his word. And I went to go get it, and we went out on the date later on that night, and I ended up staying in a relationship with him. And so, like I said, I had just turned 18, so I took off from there. I've been an adult for a long time.
This guy, he lends you his car and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, when guys, they meet a girl, 9 times out of 10, they're trying to get lucky. They're trying to score, right? Mm-hmm. This guy, was he using these things to do that? Did you feel obligated to give into that type of thing because he's lending you this car so quick and things of that nature?
You know what's so crazy? No, I was such a bitch. Like, I was like, whatever. Like, I made him wait till we, had any type of, sexual relations. And I remember when we actually did, like, later on, we were already like dating when we went on several dates. He already met my family and stuff. He said, thank you. He said, thank you. And I'm like, okay, you're my boyfriend. Like, at some point it was going to happen. But I was actually pretty cold. I was pretty cold at that age. And I didn't like him. Like, I don't know. I just wasn't, my mind was somewhere else at that point. And that's probably what made him, want to gravitate towards me. I was actually going to school. I wanted to be a doctor at the time. So he's like, wow, you're going to school to be a doctor? And I was just hustling and, doing my thing. My mind was somewhere else. I didn't see myself with anybody at that time. And so maybe that's what made him like, this girl's different or something. But I never felt like pressured for nothing. It just grew onto me, and I slowly like appreciated him.
Does your mom keep up with you after she kicks you out at 15 through the years? Do you have some sort of relationship with her during this whole time? I
Yeah.
mean, is she wondering if you're doing okay in school? Is she wondering if you're in good health?
Yeah. I don't even, I guess I would see her like holidays, or maybe I would go to her house. I can't like really tell you because I was so much in and out of trouble, but we did always have a relationship. And actually, I think like me being on my own and experience all these different things brought us closer together. So, after I left, and we actually got closer after that. We were on the phone, and I just, got a greater appreciation of her as well, like being by myself.
Hindsight 2020, did you make the right decision there? When you get kicked out at 15, not going back to grandma, not going back to your mom, not trying to make it work, just trying to do things on your own and go about your life.
Like, what do you mean, if I would do it different?
Yeah, do you regret, doing those things, or do you wish you would have went back and patched some things up so you wouldn't have to be on your own so young, or?
The only thing that I regret, well, I don't regret anything. I don't regret anything. Like, I love all the trials and tribulations I did at an early age and all those things that scarred me, all those emotions that I felt real young, because it just like the way I am as a person is just different from a lot of people. I like, I'm very independent. I'm very, very independent. And that's something that you can't teach somebody. You cannot teach somebody to make something out of nothing. You can't, teach somebody to keep fighting when you don't have anything left. So those are things, that I don't regret anything that. And I love all my memories. It's fun when I'm joking around and with my little sisters and we're talking about this stuff. It's funny to me. I'm like, can you believe one time, blah, 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 or whatnot. But I would do different things differently though, because knowing what I know now and knowing how to conduct business, just things like that, like I would definitely be different. I would have taken care of my health earlier. You know, I wouldn't have let so many years pass by, like with damaging myself with the things that I did. I would have took care of myself earlier, and I would have did business a little bit different. But I wouldn't trade my life for nothing because I have a really good life.
Damaging, like you taking Molly and stuff
Yeah,
early
like all
and
the drugs I did, like, all the partying, like I wouldn't do that. I don't do that now, because I know what I know, and that stuff ain't good for you. I don't drink coffee, just even small stuff, I don't do it. I don't like it. It's not good for you.
I forgot to ask you this too when we were talking about your biological father, and you didn't see him till you were 9 years old and things of that nature. Did you ever find out why it took so long for him to appear? Why he was not in your life during those
He
years?
actually didn't appear. I had my mom find him because when her and my stepfather divorced, I found in the old house there was like some stuff scattered around, and I found a picture. And like I said, I didn't know that he was my dad. I thought my stepdad was my dad. When I found the picture, I'm like, who is this? So I asked my mom, who is this? And then she told me who it was, because she was divorced now and, life was going to be different. She's like, that's your real father. And then, like, it didn't hit me like, whoa, I haven't been with my dad this whole time. I was like, really? Great. I want to meet him. Like, I was, happy about it. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I want to meet him. So my mom, had to look for him. She found him and, set up a time and stuff when I could go over to my cousin's house in North Miami, and, we met up and stuff. But I don't know where he was at. Oh, he ended up having two other children, a girl and a boy. But yeah, I guess he did that, and I don't know what he was doing.
Growing up, I know it started off like stealing, right? And then stealing and reselling and things of that nature. Was it just, was that as petty as it got, or did you get deeper with street activity and things of that nature?
I was pretty deep, especially for a girl. Like if I actually got into stuff that I was doing, it would be like, yeah, right, you with that cute little face, but I was pretty deep. I mean, I was so bad at a point too. I didn't even look like myself. I looked ugly. I was really skinny. I was really ghetto. I mean, I had golds all in my mouth. I was just like a different kind of person. But yeah, I was definitely deep. I mean, I have one recording that I'm probably going to make a song with one day, but I have a recording that my lawyer had to obtain because I ran somebody over with a car. And in the recording, it was somebody calling the police, and she's like, there's money and marijuana all over the place. She just ran the man over. Um, like, I did some crazy, crazy stuff. I was, like, involved in a lot of stupid activities. Like, yeah, I was daring. I was daring. I wasn't afraid of anything. And I really wanted to make money. So, from early, I wanted to make money. So I would just take risks. I would take risks and do dumb stuff.
Was it a friend or family member that put you onto this stuff back then?
A friend.
And, when it comes to street activity, it has its own set of issues. Obviously, you named some of them. Of course, certain level of stress, that looking over your shoulder feeling, violence, incarceration, which you experienced as a juvenile, worst case, death. Did you ever have a near-death experience yourself? Did you face death back then when you were in street activity?
When I think about like all those things, I was like, wow, like I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate, to be where I am, because my life could be completely different. I could have ended up somewhere. I could have been dead, like so many things could have happened to me, and I think about it, I'm like, wow, thank you, God. Like I'm really, really fortunate, like for everything that I have, everything that, I've been through, and I never got kidnapped and, killed, and, like that happens to a lot of women. Being in the streets like that, and, not going home, and, not being with family, like, so I'm really, really lucky, and I'm super grateful. My grandma, when she took me and that my mom threw me out, like, my grandma was there for me really hard. She did her best to make sure that I graduated from high school, and I was already working in high school, so I would be up late. And then I would go to school in the morning. I'd be so tired, I would fall asleep in like first period. Or my grandma would come home from night shift about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and she'd wake me up, Jasmin, you have to go to school, you have to go to school. And I'll get up and I'll jump in the shower, and sometimes I would fall asleep in the shower and with the water running and everything, and she would wake up and she'd find me in the bathtub in the shower sleeping. My skin was wrinkly from the water being like running for so long, cold, ice cold water. There was times like, with the substances that I used, like I never took into account like all that I was doing to my body. Like, there was so many times that I could have not waken up, and that's a scary thought. That's a really scary thought. Like, I could have not waken up, and I wouldn't want to see that happen to, my little sisters or, my children. Like, I would just pray, and I would never let them or want them to go through those kinds of things. But yeah, or the situation, that I just mentioned with the car and stuff, that could have went totally left. Like, I mean, I could have got shot. Like, anything could have happened. I was in a really bad relationship. I got beat up a lot. There was times I thought I was gonna die. Just a lot of different times that I felt like, it could have went another way, and it didn't. So I feel like I'm fortunate, like I'm lucky, and like I'm here because I have a purpose, a greater purpose, and I gotta use my experiences and my knowledge to pass it on to younger girls and, other people going through it, so that they can make better decisions or have somebody to relate to.
Like those things that I mentioned, from stress to the looking over your shoulder, violence, jail, death, things of that nature. Did you know this stuff from the jump before you got into it, or something you realized after you already start?
I think like I knew, but it was like a far away, like you know, something that was far away. Like I knew it was there, but it was far away, like out of reach. I wasn't like worried about it. I wasn't like, hey, you know, if you do this, you can get in trouble. Like, and if you got in trouble, then you could not see your family for a while. You might not see your boyfriend for a while. You might not be able to get a job ever again. That charge might not ever get erased. Every time you get pulled over, they will always see that charge and always label you, even if I never thought about those stuff. So it was definitely afterwards that I was like, okay, that was really stupid. I heard, like, I used to get into fights when I was like in middle school, and I was really, really strong. I was powerlifting, bench pressing. I broke like a bench pressing record for maxing out when I was like in 9th or 10th grade, something like that. And some of my football homies in school, they would be like, oh, she got roid rage, because I was always angry. But I was very muscular, and I would get into fights and over dumb stuff. And maybe, you know, I hurt a girl in school, and I think about that now. And I'm like, damn, you know, like I really needed to get a control of, you know, my anger and the way I treated people, you know, because those created other people's life experiences, you know. So I didn't think about stuff until later, until I was in trouble, and then I'd be crying and I'd be like, man, you know, like regretting it.
Going to juvenile 10 times, that didn't stray you away from this lifestyle?
Mm-hmm. It did.
It did.
It did. Because the last bit I told you that I did, it was a place called The Starting Place. It was in like Hollywood or Hollandale, something like that. And I went there 2 times. The first time was like 3 months, and the second time was like 6 months. And on the second time, you know, like I was doing everything right. You know, I was like the captain of the girls, you know, in my dorms or whatever. And that like taught me a lot of discipline. There was a lady in there, Miss Brenda, and she taught me a lot, you know. She taught me a lot, and I thank God for those people who came into my life, because they made me want to be a better person. They made me want to do the right thing. So when I came out of there, I was never doing drugs again. Like, I was like, I'm never doing drugs again. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, and I was serious about it. But then I met, you know, a couple months later, I met my little childhood boyfriend, and he started smoking weed around me. And I remember getting into fights with him. I'm like, I told you not to bring that around me. I don't do that, and I don't want to be with somebody who does that. And then just little by little, I ended up, you know, doing stuff with him. I ended up, you know, taking pills and doing stuff. And I told him so. And the next thing you know, I was like hooked on it, and I was going crazy again. But I can say, like, those things that I went through, even before I did that with him, I was serious about wanting to do the right thing. So I do feel like getting in trouble those times, like, did teach me, like, I wanted to be a better person.
Did you ever go to a school that had school uniforms?
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
It was head to toe school uniforms, or there were like some leeway there?
Both. I've gone to schools that it was, you know, just a normal kind of uniforms. They had colors or whatever that you're supposed to wear, and certain kind of, you know, button up and collar, and like either like long skirts, long shorts, or pants. And then I've also been to schools that it was a strict uniform. Like the shoes, the pants, the shirts were all the same outfits.
Reason why I ask is because I remember one time you said, you know, you would see people have stuff, and I didn't know if that you meant people in school or outside of school, but you would see people with stuff, and that, you know, kind of got you wanting to want things on your own. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see if, you know, people that go to a school with a strict school uniform, if that prevents this stuff like stealing or wanting to get things. You get what I'm saying? Like,
oh, well, the super strict uniform was in that program that I was locked up in.
Oh.
But the lenient uniform was in like real public school. But I went to schools that didn't have uniform either. And I think where it started though was like early on, like even like in elementary school, where I would just see things like I was addicted to like gel pens from the 3rd grade. And this is so embarrassing, but I would go, I would tell my friend, I'd be like, want to go shopping? And I was probably like in maybe even 1st grade. I was so young. And during lunch, I would go to class and find gel pens and take all the gel pens because I really wanted the gel pens because they were expensive and it was like a cool thing at the time. So I had like a gang of gel pens, like all these different colors. And in elementary school, I took a after school class in painting because I wanted to be an artist. Not an artist like I am now, but an artist of painting and like doing actual art. So, all the gel pens and stuff, like, I used it as like part of my art. And I used to write a lot of like love poems. But that's where it all started from, like just school, going with other kids that they had nice stuff. Or, some kids in like my gifted class, like I remember their families were stable. They had a mom, they had a dad, they had a nice house, they had like nice cars. I remember one time my mom told me she got a new car and I was all excited. And I told my friends, I think I was in 6th grade. I was like, oh, my mom got a new car. My mom got a new car. And then when I walked home, I got the car. It was this old ass van, green. And they were like, that's your mom's new car? I'm like, yeah. So it was like, it started early.
When you say artist, now you're a recording artist.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to stealing, did you get caught? Is that what led to some of these juvenile charges?
No. I got caught when I was 18, 19 years old. I was on probation. I think I was on probation for like, I don't know, a battery or something like that. And I was at Walmart and I just purchased $100 worth of like boxing working out stuff and I stole a mascara. I was rich. Like I had no reason and I stole the mascara and they caught me. And I was like crying. I called my boyfriend, the older one. I was like, please come get me. They're about to take me to jail. He rushes over there. But I was crying. It was the first time I ever got caught stealing. And they were like, so you stole a mascara, but you purchased $100 worth of stuff. And I was like, please, I'll never do it again. And I never did it again. That was so embarrassing. Like, a mascara, really? It's $8. But that right there was the cherry. I was like, I'm not stealing ever again. And I was so serious about that. I've never stolen again. I do not steal. Mm-mm.
So, I mean, do you say, hey, I could pay for this? Let's not go do the handcuff, arrest, jail thing?
Yeah, I said everything I could say.
Would they let you pay for it?
No. They took my picture and told me I was never allowed to come back to Walmart again. And it was my first time I had ever gotten in trouble. But they took me to a back room. A lot of people came in. I guess it was like an undercover cop. And I was crying. I mean, it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. Like $8 and you just spent $100. Like, you have the money for it. Like, why'd you do that? I think it was just like a habit. It was just something I did from young. But yeah, it was wrong. I was like, that was one of the most embarrassing times ever.
But they don't take you to jail for that or anything like that.
They will take you to jail for that.
Mm-hmm. But you didn't have to go to jail.
They did not take me to jail that day.
Because you had the money to pay for it, or
No, I don't know.
Your first time offender?
I think it was because it was my first time. They've never seen me there before. But they did tell me that I was like not allowed to come back.
And how did they actually catch you? Did an employee see you doing it, or was it people seeing you on camera doing it?
I think they saw me on camera. This is so embarrassing. Some people are going to be like, man, this girl, she's crazy.
Now, I know you don't have any regrets on your past, but Just hindsight 2020, when it came to the street activity side of things for you, was it worth it? Was the risk worth the reward or what you got out of it back then?
No, absolutely not. Mm-mm. Like I said, there's some things you cannot erase. Um, you only get certain chances when you get in trouble. Uh, so no, it wasn't worth it. But I gained a lot of experience. I gained a lot of knowledge. But absolutely not. Sometimes I do wish that I would have taken the school route or, the straight way instead of having to go the hard way and making those decisions. But it is what it is.
When your mom finds out for the first time, how does she actually find out you're into this stuff? Was it the first time you actually get a juvenile charge?
Oh my God, my mom was so tired of me. The first time, I think it was the second time. I think I was like 12 that I got arrested, and the school calls her. The school cop calls her. He's like, "Ma'am, you need to come over here. Your daughter has no remorse." Blah blah blah, saying that I had no remorse. I guess the cop wanted me to be crying. Please don't take me to jail. But I was so young, man, whatever. And then it got to a point that my mom just told the judge one time. She's like, "Look, I can't deal with her. So do whatever you have to do." My mom was fed up. She was having to miss work to come get me from the jack. She'll have to miss work to go to court dates. One of the fights I got in, the girl's mom made us go back to court for the restitution I had to pay. It was missing $2 or 21 cents. But the mom was upset just about the situation. So she's like, "Oh, we're gonna go back to court. They missing 21 cents or something, whatever." And my mom went off in the courtroom. "You made me miss work for this." She was just over it. I put her through so much stuff. So she was just like, "I'm tired. You know what? I can't deal with her anymore." So whatever you have to do, just go. I'm tired. She was up to here with me.
She tried to steer you in the right direction?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My mom definitely, she didn't want any bad for me. My mom was going through it by herself, just trying to make it happen. And then she had the 2 newborn babies. She was by herself again with us 3. It was hard for her.
You had pull-out gold teeth or permanent gold teeth?
Pull out.
Just curious. And also too, because you got kicked out at 15, and you're 1 foot in street activity stuff, and 1 foot in school, you still end up graduating high school.
Mm-hmm.
What led to you graduating high school? Because I don't know if it was self-motivated for you or somebody was pushing you, but I know sometimes when people are 1 foot in school, 1 foot in street activity, for a variety of reasons, street activity can consume people, this, that, and the third. They end up dropping out. So what got you to finish when I do interviews and people drop out?
I told you my grandma.
Oh, she
My
pushed
grandma.
you.
Remember the last 2 years of my high school, I was at her house, and I had a job at nighttime at a hood-ass club in Pompano. And I wouldn't get home until late to go to sleep, and she would go out of her way and just make sure that I would wake up. And if I fell asleep in the shower, she would wake me up and, "Jasmin, you gotta go to school, you gotta school." I was very close to not graduating because I was late to school too many times. I would miss the first classes too many times. But it's also because of my teachers. I had such good relationships with my teachers, and my teachers did so much for me. They believed in me, and they were like family. A lot of my teachers were like family to me, and they would give me chances, but I would look and ask for chances. I didn't give up. I didn't want to be a person who didn't graduate from high school. I had to graduate from high school. So in my senior year, I had to take some summer classes to make up for maybe things that I missed. And I just did what I had to do. But it's thanks to my grandma. My grandma was there with me. She sacrificed with me. I almost missed my graduation. We were late to my graduation.
But you made it.
I made it. Mm-hmm. And when I went on the stage, I threw up my hands. I felt like I made it finally. It was like rewarding.